Go Slow with Joe, a podcast of talks between mind and soul, while rambling between personal and real experiences, and also some hypothetical, bringing always a deep meaning about everything with inner connection, truth, and mindfulness. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode number 48 of the Go Slow with Joe podcast. I hope you've had an amazing month of April and that May is starting with lots of love. In Portugal yesterday, I'm recording this on a Monday. Yesterday was Mother's Day, which is always a beautiful day to celebrate. But it can also be sometimes a day where some people might feel sad, either because they are not mothers, either because they do not have their mothers present in their lives for many different reasons. It can also be because you're not in a good place with your mother right now. And I'm so compassionate with this feeling because I feel like throughout these past few years, since 2018, that consciously I've been working on the relationship that I have with my family. And I really understand the feeling of sometimes these important days and the days that everyone is sharing pictures on Instagram and sharing supposedly positive emotions. This can bring some confusion. This can bring some consciousness of also how the relationship with our parents and with our families are, with our children even. I'm not a mother yet, so I don't know about that part in a literal way, but I can also understand that, for example, if you are a mother and if you don't have a positive relationship with your children, I can understand that right now it might be hard to, for example, see everyone else just congratulating their mothers and you not being this mother who's being recognized. And I'm saying mother because it was Mother's Day yesterday in Portugal, but it could be also related to Father's Day and I don't know, Siblings Day and Grandparents Day, all these days that are so important. And in certain cultures, specifically in Portugal, it's a clearly or a clear literal, Latin country, I mean. So family is very integrated in our culture, in the way how we relate to each other and in the decisions that we take. Even though I feel like Portugal is a country that is so developed in so many things and so spiritual and so evolved, I also feel like we are still a Latin country. So there is still this culture based on family and based on the a cohesive part of families. So families being together and maybe living nearby and people having children and all this. And right now, for example, I live in the UAE, and here I also feel like families are also very important. People see this in a very important way, of course. And why am I bringing this to you? Um, it's because I would really like to share with you my honest journey with my own family. And I already feel a bit emotional, even just by bringing this topic. And I'm bringing you this topic with such, I do feel it inside of me. Um, I will even say modesty, or I will even say humbleness in a way, because I feel like these past few years have been so deep and so intense on me in regards to this. And I know that it will keep on being somehow and maybe in different ways, because life keeps going and as life just goes on, we just find different challenges. We find different ways that we can see things, sometimes more positively, sometimes more negatively. So I can understand that today in May, I'm bringing you this perspective in a very humble way. And I'm not sure if this is going to change, but I think that it's very important for me, even for my personal journey, and also considering the place I am at right now as a facilitator and as a mentor, to bring you this. Also because I feel so grateful for these past years and for everything that I've been learning about myself, about my family, about me as part of this family, about me as a married person who's also now part of a bigger family even, right? So I've been learning so much about all of this and about these interactions and about these places sometimes where we are, where we just don't feel comfortable with certain things. So yes, I just felt like bringing you my journey, of course, with my perspective as a facilitator of systemic constellations, because I feel like this is important. I truly feel like this is important for whoever is listening, for wherever you are in your own self journey of finding yourself, of trying to figure yourself out, and maybe healing some wounds that you might have related to your family, related to some people in your family. So I'm just glad I can have this channel in order to share this with you. So in 2018, when I started working on myself, it was because I had a tumor on my thyroid. I've shared this already a few times. And I've realized, and one of the first things I did was family constellations. And I've constellated this issue that I have on, that I used to have on my thyroid. And it was such a strong experience for me because I didn't know what I was putting myself into, I have to admit. It was a group session, and I was even the first person being constellated in a huge group. Like there were like 20 or 30 people. So it was very intense for me also because my thyroid was like just not allowing me even to speak. So for me to go there and share my issue like with a group of, I don't know, people I didn't know from anywhere in the world, I was just like, this is a huge thing. But there was something very strong that led me there. And I'm just so grateful for it, really, because I really had to be there in that way, in that naive place, in that place where I was feeling so lonely and so lost. I really had to be there. And I just feel very emotional sharing this with you because um, you know these things that sometimes happen and you just don't know why. You just don't know. Like I just went, right? I just chose to be there. And there was something bigger than me that actually allowed me to be there. This is what I feel. So big that it's making me cry right now. 6 years, 5 years later, yes, 6 to 5 years later. So you can imagine how strong I feel this inside of me. I really feel like it was my whole system, my whole family that was really kind of behind me and around me, really just asking me to do that. This is what I feel, really. I didn't feel that back then, of course, but now with my consciousness and as being a facilitator, I just know deep down inside of me that this was like the force. It was like Star Wars, but my family, like not being there with me, literally, of course, not even knowing that I was going through this, but they were the ones, and their strength, their resilience, their wounds, everything they went through in their lives. This was what led me there. This was what I don't know what I was going to do there. I didn't even know what was happening. I just went into a hotel and suddenly there were like this bunch of people and the room in the beginning was kind of empty. I didn't know where I was going to. And then just suddenly all these things started happening and the constellation happened. I'm not going into detail about that because if you've done family constellations, you know that you shouldn't talk about it. And even though it's been many years already, I just feel like this is not the place where I would like to share this. So I just this is just what I feel. Um, Also, because my aim with this episode is not going into these little details, is just I really want to bring you like this deep but also wide perspective on the journey. So yes, I really felt like this was like a strong force that led me there, and it was my whole family, not even knowing, of course, like I was saying, but this was something that really led me there. And I'm just so glad that this happened. And today I feel especially grateful for this. And um, yes, I couldn't share this with my humbleness, and my modesty couldn't be different from great gratitude, because it's just what I carry inside of me today. And I know that gratitude sometimes kind of circulates, and you also have mood swings. We all have and go through them, and we have moments where we just talk to someone and we start feeling not so well. So I know gratitude is really like volatile sometimes, but it's such a good anchor for us to feel happy and for us to be happy in life, that I just really want to share this from a gratitude point of view and from a gratitude place where I am right now. So yes, this journey started with this, and from that moment on, and if you want to know more about my journey with my thyroid and all this, please just go and check more episodes on the podcast, because I have one specific episode where I share a lot about my thyroid. I think it's called The Things I've Never Shared About My Tumor. So please just go and check that, because I never wanted to sell this story. This was never my aim. It's not my aim at all. But I felt like these lessons were so important for me to share. So there is a whole episode on that. But yeah, indeed, after this and after doing a constellation, I just realized that I had to start setting limits. And this was one of the learnings that I did, that I've gathered from this situation, from my constellation, from so many things that were happening in my life, in that important period of my life. But one of the learnings I had was really that I had to settle and set very important limits in my life. Because, and this is something that I really want to share with you, and this is what led me here. I am such a family driven person. My sun sign is a Libra. My number of, I don't know, in numerology, I know that there are many numbers, and I've studied a little bit this about myself. But the 6 is the number that is so related to family. And this is this is the number of my, I think, my name. It might mean something. I know I used to know a bit more on detail, but then I just started focusing on other things. But if you look into it, and if you check the meaning of the number 6 in numerology, you will find this meaning of family and others and all these. So this is I think my life number or something like that. So can you see how family driven I am? And then I found myself in a place back then in 2018, 2019, when I had surgery and all this, feeling completely lonely and feeling like I actually have to go through this by myself. And life gave me many moments, provided me with many moments where I actually needed to ask for help. And I was not ready to do that. I felt like this thyroid process, I really had to live it by myself. Again, it's very well explained in that episode, but throughout these last few years, I just realized how much of a family person I am, even more than before. Um, and starting from my thyroid and starting from this place where I felt like I had to go through this by myself, that I had to be like a superwoman, and that no one else was around me was understanding me. And this was quite true, to be honest. I've went into this process of my life knowing that one of the most important things of my journey was I have to set limits. And if you know something about astrology, you know, and even this six number in numerology also says something about it, which is you always have to balance yourself and yourself in regards to others as well. And one big tendency that Libras have is to put everyone else in the first place apart from themselves, because they think that that's going to bring them harmony, but that will take their inner harmony out of them. So in the end, if we are not in harmony with the inside of us, we will not find harmony in our relationships as well. So this is something that, me being a sun sign in Libra, I feel that, and I understand this inside of me very, very much. So for me, this process was, maybe I didn't have to go through so many of the little details of my disease by myself, but I indeed had to learn how to set limits in my relationships. Indeed, I had to learn how to say no. Indeed, I had to learn how to put myself first. And of course, if you know anything about chakras, you know that the throat chakra is also about that. It's about you saying your inner truth, that it's inside of you, from your solar plexus, from your sacral chakra, from yourself towards the world. So the throat chakra is what allows you to just say your truth. And I was not allowing myself for many years to say my truth because I was afraid of not being loved, because I was not supported in saying my own truth in my own education, because I felt different, and feeling different makes you feel like you don't belong. And that's so hard on ourselves, on our souls, on our egos. And I understood from my thyroid issue that I had to start saying what I was feeling. I had to start sharing from a true point of view and from a true base that this is what I feel, this is what I don't feel. So it was also important for me to set boundaries with my family. And it was mostly lonely for me because of this, because when you go through something like this, you really expect or for you to be comfortable with the people you've known throughout all your life. But sometimes it's not like that, because it depends on the journey that you're going through. And for me, my journey was really like I had to find myself. And if I could have done it with a little bit of more help, probably yes, and maybe it would have been easier, I'm not sure. But at the same time, I really had to find my inner strength to say, no, this is my boundary. I don't want you here, or I don't want this person to be here, or I don't want to share this part of my life with these people. So it's okay. And setting boundaries is for me the biggest, learning of my life. And I feel, and I told you in the beginning, I'm bringing this with such modesty and such humbleness. And I feel sometimes when people say, I'm saying this in a modest way and in a humble way, that things stop being humble and modest, but it's the truth. We are too hard on ourselves, like socially. So I'm saying this from a very honest point of view, which is I'm being very honest, which is like I've learned how to put so many boundaries. And I feel like this is something that I have to keep reminding myself to do throughout my whole life. But because this episode is about my journey with my family, I need to tell you that from this moment on, from my thyroid starting moment in 2018, I really had to set boundaries in a very harsh way. I was pretty young. I was in my mid-20s. I just didn't know how to handle certain things. And I just had to, like, from, I don't know where this strength also came from, also from my system, I'm pretty sure, but I had to say no to many things and I had to really set boundaries. And this, of course, drove me away from my family for a very long time. And this was very hard. I started this episode telling you that I know that it's hard to maybe see like Mother's Day or Father's Day, and maybe I'm not going even into death, but going from like an alive point of view in the physical world. I know that it's very hard, that you go through these days or birthdays or Christmases or whatever, and you're not in a good place. And with these people, with these supposedly so important people in your life, and I can tell you, your family is so important in your life. It's just so important. Even the ones who are not present, even the ones you don't text during Christmas, even the ones you don't want to text during their birthdays, they are just so important. So I had to be very mature during this period of my life, and knowing that, you know what, now I need to be by myself. And now I need to find this journey by myself. And I'm not telling you this because my family is not spiritual. I'm not telling you this because my family, um, oh, they didn't want to be present. No, not at all. You know, like the boundaries I had to set with my family were very important to me. Um, and also I believe to them, and to ourselves as a family. But it's not something that you might think. Just if you have any stories, if you now have any imagination how my family is, just forget about it, because we don't know anything about each other's families. I know a little bit when you bring me the topics into family constellations or reading or mentorship, but we just don't know. And sometimes it's just the deep dynamics that exist within a very healthy family, because a very healthy family can have very deep wounds. It can have very limiting dynamics as well. It's not only the family who argue, it's not only the family who, I don't know, have violence, or that someone abandoned someone else, where there is constraints. No, even like perfect, apparently, families have deep wounds and have dynamics that are not healthy. So I'm just telling you this. So if you're having any imagination, our minds are very gossipy. It's very natural. It's just human. But if you have any sort of imagination, I will just invite you to just forget about it, because it's not that. It's about the fact that it's about the journey. And my journey was really like, these are my limits, these are my boundaries, and you have to respect them. And this drove me away from certain people and certain very important people in my life for a very long time, and in very important moments of my life. But again, I am a very family driven person. Like I told you, sun sign in Libra, the number 6 in numerology, I think it's my life number. I should check this to let you know, but I really felt today like having a little rant with you about this, because it's an honest journey. It's not something that I've written. It's something that it's my own journey. And I hope that it can help you in yours. So this was my journey. My journey was started with this. I have to settle some boundaries, and very important ones. And while placing some boundaries and finding them, I had to build some walls. I built very big walls. And some walls still exist in my life. Some walls are a little bit smaller right now. Some walls stopped existing. From one side of the wall, I also felt like I was putting myself in that side in some relationships and in some contexts as well. So my journey started indeed setting boundaries. And a few years later, now, in a modest and humble way, I can tell you that these walls, these boundaries, some of them, they were so useful to me in certain periods of my life, but but some of them are just not making sense anymore. So I've been working on just breaking them down, on knowing that even though there is no wall, I can still be on my side and the other person on the other side. So there is a difference between the two of us. That person might still keep some patterns that I've worked already on them and that I don't identify myself with them anymore, but there is no wall. So sometimes if I want to go to the other side is okay. If sometimes that person wants to come to my side is okay as well. So it just became healthier. And our journeys with working in ourselves is really to find our individual paths. It's really to find our own choices that come from within and not from our patterns, not from our wounds, not from our masks that we wear because we are so wounded. This is the journey. The journey is really to love ourselves and know that, okay, you know what? Now I know myself. Now I can do this. But this doesn't mean that you have to cut the relationship with your family. And this is what I want to bring you now. Because I realize that certain topics, when they are written on Instagram, when they are written on books, when we see some people dealing with it, sometimes we find people in certain phases like I was a few years ago. Like, I cannot even talk to my family. I need some time apart, which is okay. Which is okay. That sometimes is part of our journeys. Please don't go and work on yourself if you're not ready for that. And sometimes you don't know if you're ready for that or not. Like I told you during when I started working on my thyroid and on my life with family constellations, I didn't know that that was going to happen. But there was something inside of me that told me, you know what, it's now or never. I have to set some boundaries, and this is the time. But what I just said is that don't go into that if you're not ready for that, because setting boundaries and knowing that we are individuals, part of families, of course, but we are individuals, is knowing that sometimes we will choose something that it's different from what they want. It's different from what they expect. It's different from what we've been taught our whole lives. Sometimes it's really not being present in those moments. Sometimes it's choosing one thing that is more important to us, even though they feel like it's ridiculous, or they've always ridiculized certain things that we loved. So I was telling you, don't go into this journey if you're not ready for that. And what I mean with this is that you have to be in an adult place. And sometimes we go into this journey because we want to be seen as kids, which is totally normal as well. You know, when I went to constellate my thyroid, I was like, everything is wrong. You know, no one understands me. What the heck is going on in my life? Why am I sick right now? What is going on? Like, nothing is going well, you know, so it's so hard to deal with it, and you really feel like a little kid, lonely and just left behind, and being just castrated from your own life, and it's so hard. But from that kid point of view, from that kid place, there is also an adult version that wants you to stand up for yourself and just start doing your things. And this is what I did when I realized that, okay, certain things I have to do by myself. So I'm just going to stand up for myself and I'm going to be an adult. Sometimes I was still the kid that, because I still wanted to be seen, I sort of kind of maybe did some movements that were like, this is just pride. Right now I can see this. But of course, back then I just didn't know. So I was kind of in the kid place. So what I'm trying to tell you this with the adult and the kid's place in your life is that working on yourself and looking at your family system, looking at yourself deeply and working on yourself deeply is knowing that sometimes you will have to choose certain things that are hard, that mean that you are being mature, that means that being mature is not always having everything ready for you already, like the food, for example, or that you know that you know that thing that sometimes parents say when kids, just maybe in movies, kids just go wild and they're like, I hate you, I want to leave this place. And parents say, okay, if you leave this place, you can never come back. Something like that, right? It's very dramatic, but it's true. It's a little bit like that, you know, like life and this journey also asks us a little bit from uh, from that point of view, also asks us from also asks us for this responsibility from our side. Like, if I chose to leave this pattern, for example, let me give you an example. If I chose to leave this pattern of scarcity in my family, like, no, we always have to save up, you never know the day after, and all this. I'm not saying I agree with this or not. Okay, I'm just giving you like a very wide example and very common example. Okay, I chose to leave this pattern. So it means that probably I don't want to talk about money with my family anymore. And this might be hard because when we talk to them about this, it brings us to a place of childhood of like, okay, let me see what they think about this. They are the ones who are deciding. But if I chose to leave this pattern, why would I ask my parents? This is an example, okay? It's not about my family, but why would I ask my parents what they think about buying a house which is expensive? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that you cannot ask you cannot ask certain things, or that you cannot then find a middle term and talk about to them about certain things. But why would you uh, put this decision of your life in their hands again, knowing that they just live a different type of life and that they think differently than you? You can maybe communicate this later on. Maybe they can be happy for you that now you are like living a different life and more abundantly life and more free life in terms of money. But why would you communicate with them before? This brings you back. It brings you to a place of like, I've moved on from this pattern, but I still need their approval. I still need their 2 cents on my life. This is being a child. This is not being an adult, right? So this is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, if you go into this journey, know that there are maybe certain things that you just um, are not to be discussed with your family anymore. And again, this doesn't mean that don't that you cannot have a close relationship with your family. This doesn't mean that they cannot be happy for you. Um, and this is part of my journey as well, because while I went through this journey of my thyroid, which was so deep in terms of cuts of relationships, in terms of establishing new types of relationships with the same people, um, which was so important in boundaries. Um, I also realized along the years that, okay, but all the work that I'm doing on myself, everything that I'm trying to accomplish in my life, that all the therapy, all the family constellations, all these, it's because I love them so much, and because I just wish that we can have um, a more pleasant relationship. I just wish that these things that some people tell me don't bother me anymore. I just wish that these things that I'm trying to accomplish, they are possible right now. So, so from a gratitude point of view, from a humble and modest place, today I tell you that the aim of your journey throughout your system is not for you to stop having a good relationship with your parents, with your family. On the contrary, the aim would be for everyone else, and sorry, for everyone in the family to see each other. Can you imagine? You can even close your eyes right now. Just imagine all your family members, that uncle that you never see, that aunt that seems to be mad with your grandmother, for example, your grandmother, your grandparents, the ones that are alive, the ones that are not, your great grandparents, your parents, your siblings, any abortions, your past partners in life, people you loved, people who did something bad to your family. Just look as if all these people were like in a circle. Just can you imagine this? And can you imagine that all these people are just looking at each other in their eyes? and just honoring each other's lives, just honoring each other's journeys, just honoring each other's interpretations of certain situations in life and in the relationships, so that wounded them or that made them stronger. Can you just imagine all these people having compassion towards each other? Can you imagine someone who was not even born, like a miscarriage or vanished twin? I'm a lot into this topic now. Can you imagine these souls being included as well? Can you imagine everyone seeing and acknowledging that they were alive? They were someone who was supposed to be born. Can you imagine this? Just just realize how much peace this can bring you. I believe that it's going to bring you peace. I believe that it's going to bring you hope. And this is what I want to bring you today. It's this hope in your journey. Because and if you are with your eyes closed, you can open them up. It's so beautiful when we work on ourselves and then we start seeing our family also bit by bit being more positive about things, maybe looking at yourself differently, maybe that specific topic you could never talk about, you are able to talk about it, or at least is much lighter. Can you realize or just imagine how it would be nice just to have a nice dinner with just everyone just talking about, I don't know, even superficial things about life, about news, about whatever, and not maybe something that makes them argue. And I'm not saying I love arguments. Okay, I have to tell you this, and I also bring this from my family. I love the I love arguments. I don't love to have conflicts, but I love arguments. I love when people don't agree with each other. I love when people just are honest about the fact that they don't agree or that they don't like things. Okay, I'm not saying this, but I know that some people come from families where even if there was no argument, they could never say what they were thinking about, or they were just not like listened to. They were not listened. They were not seen, and this is so uncomfortable. Sometimes it's more uncomfortable than arguing and just someone just breaking a plate. Sometimes it's more uncomfortable. But I I want to bring this hope, and I'm not saying that this is something that is going to happen like this, like super fast. I'm telling you this journey of my own that started in 2018 and today is 2024, and I'm still in my journey. And maybe there are still some things, like I told you in the beginning, that maybe from a different point of view, from a different position that I will be being in the future, I might go back to some topics, or I might just start arguing about certain things that I stopped now. But because now I'm also more conscious of this, and I'm also more conscious of my boundaries. But it's so beautiful to do the work and also see your family just bloom. This is this is the word that I was looking for. Thank you for this word. Can you imagine your family also blooming? And one day you go back home and you see your parents, same dynamics, but maybe happier. Or you see your mother just, not worrying about certain things that she used to worry about. Or maybe also setting her own boundaries, because you are doing that work yourself. So subconsciously, she will also do that in her life. Because when you heal yourself, you're also opening, I usually say this, you open a window to your family system. And if they feel like it, if this is something that touches them, I can guarantee you that they will also see certain things throughout that new window, maybe even jump towards like a beautiful garden. Sorry, when I say jump, is not in a literal way. It's just like crossing the window and just being able to just open their arms to new possibilities. Because when you're working on yourself, again, when you're working on yourself, you're also allowing your family to see things differently, at least to feel things differently. How beautiful is that? How hopeful is that? How fortunate is that? And I can tell you something. Sometimes when we work on ourselves and we start setting our boundaries, sometimes people will not understand and they will be like, what? But when you do that from your place, not from a place of, I want to teach them how to be, I want to teach them how it is to be abundant, I want to teach them how it is to be free, how it is to be a woman right now or a man. Um, if you do that from that place, I can guarantee you that the work you're doing, it's not going to touch anyone, neither you, neither your family. But if you do that from a place or a point of view of like, okay, you know what? Maybe you don't do that, but I do this now. So if you want to see me doing that and if you want to relate to my way of behaving now, just amazing. If you don't, it's okay. If you do that from that place of like, I'm just in my place doing my own thing, I can guarantee you that your family is also gonna be able to see that situation, that pattern, that wound, that topic from that beautiful window again, or at least that more open window. Sometimes it's not that beautiful, but open at least. So my honest journey with my family, because I don't want to for this episode to be clickbait, even though I feel like I've shared already good details. It was really knowing and learning how to put myself first, knowing that certain things were not my responsibility and that it was myself, my arrogance that was still keeping me there. It was to know that, okay, maybe certain things will not be perfect. This will not be well seen, but this is what I want to do. So this is what I'm doing. It was also setting boundaries in a place of like, maybe this person calls me every day to talk to me about this. I'm going to stop answering because it's not my place to listen to this. And when I tell you this is not only with family, okay, it goes into the other systems, friends, workplace, romantic relationships, even. Okay, so please consider this. Okay, it's wider. It goes into the other systems that we are part of as well. But for me, it was important to just, no, I'm not going to answer right now. Or if I'm, for example, with this person who's I just want to be present right now, I'm not going to answer the phone just because this person usually decides to call me at this time of the day. And I'm not going to talk to this person about certain things because usually her or his reaction is something that doesn't make me feel good. So I don't want to talk to that person about that because her vision or his vision does not suit me. It makes me feel weaker. It makes me feel that I'm not doing things right. So why would I want that person's opinion on this? And maybe you can work on that. I'm not saying that these things are certain things that you just have to put in a box of like don'ts, no, but this is my journey. This was my journey. I had to set the limits in a very wide way, you know, not even just in a very deep way, but very wide way as well. Like these little details were some things that I had to work on. And then I went to a place along the years of like, let me try this. And each time I would try, I knew that I would bring something new to heal. Like, this is better, but I still feel that. Okay, so let me go into that because you know it goes in layers. So okay, now I can be there for like 30 minutes, but there was still something that bothered me. Okay, so now I will come back to my own place and let me work on that. And you go, you know, you do. I did some approaches. It's also important for your family to have time to know your new self, kind of, you know, or your adult self. This is important. It's not like just new self, but because I feel like we are always working on ourselves, but certain things are within you. You were just a child, or you were just like out of place, so you couldn't really show yourself that way. So your family, your friends, the people who you want to keep in your life, might also need time to just get to know that new version of you, like the topics you want to talk about, the topics you don't want to talk about. So I also decided to give time to people. Not now it's very conscious for me. Maybe like in the past was not so conscious. It was more like how much I would be comfortable with, or if I just opened a little bit too much, I knew that I would come back home and I would feel just, oh no, this was too much. Okay, so I'm still not ready for that. So I went bit by bit, just opening up a little bit more. Also, when you work on yourself through this perspective, you also start seeing people differently because you start acknowledging their wounds as well. You start knowing that, okay, maybe this person usually reacts that way because it's how much she knows, or she went through that, you know. So I'm at least compassionate. I don't want to bring that emotion with me, but that I'm compassionate. That doesn't mean that that person can go through my boundaries, but still I'm compassionate about this. So I went and I did these approaches. I did this back and forth, and it was very important to me to respect my time and to respect also their time, and to know that some people were just out of time, and I was also out of time for them, and some people just um, especially friends and people I knew. It just it's normal. It's just it's life going on. You know, it's just thing. Just we have to be adults in order to just accept that as well. But um, m- 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 I want you to know that throughout this process, I learned that I was maybe sometimes excluding myself, that I was not feeling good enough, that sometimes I felt superior, that sometimes I felt like I don't belong here. So I was excluding myself, or I was even excluded, you know? So throughout this process, there are better days, there are worse, there are days that are not so good. Or there are days where you feel kind of lonely. There are days where you might feel like these people are not understanding me. But also life opens in other ways. And this is the hopeful way that I want to bring you, which is then you also start seeing other people differently. Then you also start seeing your family and your friends acting differently because they also see you differently, because they also uh, they can also see things from a different perspective because you're working on yourself, and if they are in your system, they are also within these topics that you go and work on. So um, my honest journey is this, is a hopeful journey, a journey from someone who's super family driven, a journey of someone who as a kid used to imagine to have the whole family together and being happy and being like, I don't know, strong and just present. And of course, somehow throughout life and disagreements and important things that were important for ones and not for others, things maybe were not so much like that. But uh, for me, I keep doing this work on myself and also helping other people throughout this work because of this, because I have this hope that families can reconcile, can be together, that families can be together in adult versions, that families can be happy. When I say together, is in a happy way, not literally like together, but that families can be present in their hearts, that families can look at each other like the circle I brought you. I have this hope inside of me. And from a facilitator point of view, it's not my place to make your family do that. So sometimes you might go through a process which doesn't really end in such a hopeful way, but I can guarantee you that you keep on working on yourself, you will see things from a more loving and compassionate way, at least. And this might be the reconciliation that you might need, because some families, this is the way of reconciliation. This is the way of positiveness. It's like just seeing each other's point of view and then just going into their lives as well. So each family has their own dynamics, like I just told you in the beginning. So I have this hope and I have this positiveness. Families are amazing together, you know? It's where we go and grab certain things that it's like, I cannot believe that this person still thinks about me that way. I cannot believe that this person still thinks about life that way. I cannot believe that I used to think about this person. And then, for example, just think about your aunts or like uncles, people that you kind of, roughly, like, or at least they were present in your life forever, but you had this idea about their lives. Your parents usually or used to tell you something about them and their lives, of course, throughout their own lens. And now you as an adult, and by working on yourself, you can actually look at that person and you're like, wow, she's always been different like me. She has always put her boundaries as well. She never really shut up about this thing because she believed in that. I'm going into the she because I'm a woman, but it's also applicable to men, of course. But and then suddenly you're like, oh, I have a new appreciation for this person. And I also have a new appreciation for, I don't know, my mom or my father, who are their like sister or brother. And they also had to deal with this sister or brother. It must have been hard, to deal with such a personality. So suddenly you are like in an adult place and you're like, interesting. I used to see this person from a stubborn point of view because this is what that person of my closest family used to think about. But now I can look at that person and I'm like, I know where I bring my stubbornness from. Um, and this might be something that heals you. It's like, okay, uh, now I'm happy about this. I know where this comes from, and I know that maybe I can dial it down sometimes, or I can use it when it's useful for me and for my own life. So this hopeful, and I feel like it's so funny sometimes, I when I start talking about families, like my all my cells just go crazy because of this, because it's like, oh my God, I'm sure that must have been, or there must have existed like a great grandmother that was like super outside of her time already and super forward. And probably she did certain things that women were not supposed to do back then. All these things, So it can also be funny. Like to find out about your family can also be funny. And I know that we go until we find this, we go through wounds, we go through hard emotions, and it must be hard. And I know it must be hard now. It is hard. I know this by experience. But when you start working on yourself, you're like, oh, wow, I can now see this from a different perspective. So, yes, this is my honest journey with my family. Until now, the 2024, May, I'm so grateful, to be honest, that I'm able to share this with you because um, I was in places in my life where I wouldn't have been able to share this with such joy and such gratitude. I was still finding this within me. So I'm grateful that today I can share this wherever you are in your journey. If you're just starting, if you didn't even go into that and you're just listening here, just out of nowhere, if you've been doing a lot of work and you see no results, I understand you. And I can just tell you that there is hope for positiveness. And I'm a loving family driven person. And I just wish that people could see how important their families are. Uh, Maybe each one of them in their own house. I love boundaries. I'm a boundaries lover right now, but um, families are just so important to us and to our own journeys. And it's just beautiful, again, when you see them just blooming as well. Um, if you feel like, please share with me what you felt with this episode, because I just really poured my heart out. And I'm here really with a big smile and with such gratitude, because I do believe that this is my place in life, is really just to be able to, I want to take out your pink glasses of like, everything has been perfect in my life. No, no one has had a perfect childhood. No one has had perfect parents. I'm sorry if you think that. It's not true. And now you're gonna switch off if you don't believe me, but it's my opinion and this is my podcast, so that's it. um but again, then I don't wish for you to be like not seeing, like without glasses, or having like black glasses to see your family from a bedside point of view. No, 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 I don't want you to do that. I want you to have normal glasses if you need them, or if you don't wear glasses, to just see things as they are. And seeing things as they are can also be positive. It doesn't have to be negative. Okay? Seeing your family as they are can also be positive. It doesn't have to be something atrocious and horrible and, oh my God, I cannot believe this. Okay? Thank you. I would love to learn and to know more about how you felt, how you feel about your family right now. Where are you in your journey right now? And have a happy month of May. And I will see you in the next one.